Welcome, guys. This is ZCT number 27. And today we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth than in some of my previous videos. My experience with the BRZ.
BRZ,
Yeah.
right there.
I've had the car a little over a month, around 5 weeks. I put over 2,600 miles on it. Wow, that's actually a lot. That's probably the most I've ever put on a car.
Pretty good. And most of that's like going back and forth from the track.
Yeah,
Right?
honestly, most of it, because I'm not even commuting right now, working from home.
Yeah.
So most of it is just track miles.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I covered a lot of like the driving dynamics and some of the things I like and dislike about the car in previous videos. But in this one, I just want to go a little bit more in depth about my overall experience so far, things that I've noticed over the past 2,600 miles in 5 weeks, and then my track experience with the car, and then my future plans with it.
All right. Sounds good.
So starting high level, I bought this car as a dual purpose car, a track car as well as a daily driver.
Right.
So it's always like it's like a fine line you have to try to balance when you do that, right? Because it's not, very few cars out there are truly like you buy it off the dealership, get the keys, and then you can immediately start tracking it and still be able to daily drive it and have a good time at both, right?
Right.
And I will say the BRZ is not perfect in that regard. But what drew it to me is that it's relatively low entry price, right? 32K MSRP for mine. The fact that it's with just a few mods like brake pads, brake fluid, it is ready to go in terms of like you can track it reliably. You won't really have to deal with overheating or brake fade. There are caveats like the car won't drive like an actual car that's designed to go like from the factory to be a track car, like a GT3 or a Camaro SS1LE or something like that, right? But it's still really, really fun. It's a great learning tool to learn front engine, rear drive dynamics. And then on the flip side, on the daily driver side, this is actually one of the more practical cars I've ever owned.
Which is weird because like I did drive it a little bit even when coming over here. And I'm used to like a hot hatch and then I have an SUV. Right?
Yeah.
I have a GX. And even for me, I was loading stuff in the car. I was like, dang, this is kind of like small in the trunk. But from what I understand, like the trunk here is like pretty decent for, like you said, a track car and a daily car.
I mean,
right?
consider that I can fit a full set of wheels, 18-inch wheels and tires.
With the seats folded
with
down.
the back seats folded down. Yeah, so the back seats in this car, pretty much not usable.
I wouldn't call them seats. They're like more like storage spots.
I mean, I'll say that they are a lot better than my Porsche 997 back seats because you actually have a little bit more headroom in these. But I tried sitting back there for the first time. I was just in my garage and I was like, I wonder what it's like back there with my front seat set to my seating position.
Yeah,
and like I had to have my feet like completely like splayed out.
Like,
there's nowhere to put your feet.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but it's practical because it's great for Costco runs.
Yeah, it's the grocery. It can be a good grocery getter as well as be pretty formidable on the track. So like you were saying, it's always a fine line. Like very track oriented car, very daily drivable car. Like we have done videos in this all the time. It's like trying to find that balance that best suits your needs.
Yeah.
And like you said, this is kind of like your daily track car. And, to not put your miles on the other car in the background, the NSX.
Right,
and I feel like for that purpose, it suits very well.
Yeah.
And then you also touched about that on your video comparison between the Miata and the S2000. So made some great points there. So that's the high level of it. Pretty good overview. Like you said, check out other videos that you've done.
Yeah.
But let's go more into like the track portion of things. I think that's where a lot of people are pretty interested in, and you just came back from Sonoma.
Yeah.
Right. So let's get into that. What's your impressions of it as a track car?
Yeah. Good question. So I'll start by saying the only mods I've done to the car are the Power Stop Track Day pads, front and rear. Just go on Amazon. Literally, a lot of people have been asking me, like, what's the model number of the pads or whatever.
Right.
Just go on Amazon and search Power Stop Track Day pads and just make sure it's the one that says it's compatible with a Subaru BRZ. It doesn't even have to be the 2022 BRZ. Like, they're backwards compatible with the old car, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I paid, like, a little over $200 for a full set. front and rear.
That's ridiculous.
Dirt cheap.
And the fact that it's listed on Amazon,
Right.
like that's how you kind of know your car has a lot of aftermarket support.
Yeah.
Because usually you have to, like for my Fiesta, I had to go to some specialty, one-off
Yeah.
brake racing pad. And
Yeah.
that was like, took me forever to get a shipping confirmation, blah, blah, blah. But Amazon's like, oh, here in 2 days, I bet.
I got it in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and I've had zero issues with brakes, with brake fade, with premature pad wear, like nothing. The brakes have been solid, but that's because I've been running street tires. So that moves on to the second thing I've done to the car is for Sonoma, I threw on a set of 17-inch wheels. Specifically, there's 17.8 plus 45 offset.
Okay.
And then I threw on a set of used GT Radial Champiro SX2 tires in 225 45 17. And that was my first time ever experiencing these tires. The Sonoma video is already out. You guys will already know by this point.
Your impressions of them.
My lackluster impressions. I don't know if that's just because of these tires having been used for like 5 to 6 sessions before I got them, or if they're really just that bad. But regardless, because I'm running a pretty mild street tire, the brakes have been solid. So with that out of the way, the car has stock alignment, stock suspension.
It's pretty square, right?
It's like pretty much no camber, like essentially zero camber.
Right. I mean, which kind of, when you get into a car like this where it's trying to appeal to the most amount of people, there's going to be a lot of people who buy this who don't track it, who are going to just want that square setup for tire wear. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's just how it's going to be. So in order to combat that, you do have some things coming up. But yeah, like, let's keep on going into what else it is.
Yes.
What else
And so my biggest problem with the car on track is understeer. Like terminal, undefeatable understeer. Like the only way you can neutralize the understeer is if instead of basically by pitching it into the corner, like you'll know that it's going to understeer going to a corner. So you're just going to say, screw it and pitch it in just to get it to oversteer. Otherwise it will just push and plow its way through pretty much all low speed corners in this thing. If you don't just purposely oversteer it, you're going to be fighting understeer.
You're going to be like, instead of like trying to guess when it's going to kick in, you just address the fact by just doing it.
By just
initiating it yourself.
Yeah, initiate it yourself and then just to neutralize it. And that's not a fast way to go through a corner. You want it. No. You want all 4 wheels to be gripping.
Yeah, you want to grip to the max pretty much when you're going through it.
And so, I think the main problem or the main root cause for that is the alignment. The tires obviously are a problem too, but even with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4 stock tires, which are actually better than the Champiros, in my opinion, there was quite a bit of understeer at Thunderhill West in some of the lower speed corners. Actually, at high speed, the car is pretty balanced. You can get it to oversteer just by giving it a little bit more throttle. Right? There's a lot more throttle adjustability at high speed. At low speed, you really have to be really, really blatant with the weight transfer in order to neutralize understeer. So the mods I'm going to do to the car next. So I've done 3 track days, one at Thunderhill East, one at Thunderhill West, one at Sonoma. Before I go to the next track day, I'm planning to put some basic mods on the car.
Okay, so what are those mods and what do you expect to get out of each one of those?
Yeah, so I actually have all the parts sitting in various boxes over there. I bought pretty much everything used. So suspension, I just want to address the alignment issue first and foremost. So I bought a set of RCE Tarmac 2 coilovers. RCE stands for like Race Comp Engineering.
Okay.
They're like a Subaru specific suspension.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I mean, I'm not in the Subaru world, so obviously, but I have never heard of that brand before.
I didn't know about them either before I got it, but before I got the BRZ. But they're very popular in RRX STIs and as well as the BRZ.
Okay.
And to my understanding, they actually use a KWV3.
Oh, but then
damper.
It's just like they adjust it to specifically for Subarus and they put their brand on them because they did the research and stuff.
Yeah, they'll revalve it specifically for the Subaru model that you have, and they'll put custom spring rates on it. And people have said that it's actually really good. So they're quite a bit cheaper than I think they might actually be cheaper than just base KWV3s.
And if that's the case, if you can get KW any V3 or whatever, or for a good price, then that's pretty worth it, because that's like a kind of a standard of which I feel like a lot of people measure
Yeah.
good coils by. Is like KW, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and my opinion is not good on KW V3s, to be honest. Like
Okay,
out of the
sure.
box KW V3s, I've never had a good experience. People say it's comfortable, but honestly, I don't. I'm not
Comfortable, but maybe they don't track it as much, so they don't they don't have
Yeah.
the track impressions that you do. But
impressed. Right.
interesting. Okay.
But anyways, like these go for like I think 2,200 or so, 2,300 brand new,
Wow.
which is not bad at all.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty-
bought them
pretty
used.
decent.
Yeah, so I paid like 1,700 for them.
Oh wow.
With just a few, like 1 or 2 track days on them. But so the thing is, if you just get coilovers, because this suspension is McPherson strut, when you lower the car, you're not going to get a whole lot of extra negative camber. Like to my understanding, you might gain like a couple tenths of a degree, but
Okay,
it's not like,
even a degree.
right. It's not like an S2000 with the double wishbones where when you lower the car like an inch and a half,
You can just
you
go-
gain a significant amount of negative camber. There's no negative. There's no camber adjustability in the front of this car at all.
So they're just straight up. They're just into
Yeah,
the car like that.
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if just with just the coilovers alone, you'd still have the stock top hats with no adjustability. So what I did is I bought a set of camber plates.
Okay.
Varus Engineering camber plates.
Right. So, like, would you say if you were just to get coils by themselves without the camber plates, probably not as worth it then, right? You should probably just
No.
run the stock suspension unless you get and plan on doing both.
Yeah, my thinking
Pretty
is
much.
like just from my experience with previous platforms like the S2000 and 997 and everything, I want to do everything right the first time. And so I'm not going to go coilovers, like lower the car an inch and a half and still have like 0.9 degrees of camber. Like
Just
there's
like
no
square.
point. Yeah. So yes, I'll have a better damper and a better spring rate, but it's still going to understeer like a pig. So I got the camber plates for the front, and then for the rear, I got like these billet aluminum lower control arms, which have adjustable camber built into those as well.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna make it pretty much cambered out front and
It's going to be a
rear.
full track suspension setup. I'm planning to keep the stock roll bars for now and just see how it does with just those parts I mentioned. But the roll bars are obviously super easy to just swap in and out. So
Yeah.
that should address the handling issue that I have right now.
Right. Okay. So more in depth on that, because maybe someone put it in layman terms for someone like me. So with, the coils in the front, the camber plates, and then you said you're going to do the control arms at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you, on track, taking the left-hand turn, what was the before and what do you expect the after to be? Maybe
Yeah,
just dumb it
so-
down for me.
So I can't say for sure because what I'm planning to do is actually run the same Champero SX2 tires after I do the
Oh,
suspension
like a little test, right?
as a before and after to see exactly what the suspension changes.
Okay. So what do you expect? And what is the current experience and what do you expect?
Yeah, so the current state is at low speed, say like a second gear or like a lower speed third gear corner.
Okay.
Turn the wheel into a corner. I brake first in a straight line, turn the wheel into a corner, immediate understeer. Like
Just like,
it is so bad that I feel like I'm driving on all season tires.
oh, wow.
It's terminal, like truly frustrating understeer. And so things that I tried to do to neutralize it already is trail braking it more into the corner. And that helps a little bit. But then I end up finding myself like trail braking so hard that I'm just scrubbing so much speed by braking.
Okay.
But by the time I hit the apex, I'm like going like 30 miles an hour.
You're zooming through there,
Yeah. And
Pretty
so
slow,
you'll
pretty
see
slow.
this in the Sonoma video. If you just go search for like my BRZ at Sonoma video, you'll literally see and hear the tires chirp. And so once I do the suspension mods, what I expect to find with the same tires is that the initial turn-in will be a lot better because even though the tires are still crap, they are what they are. With zero camber turning into a corner, I'm literally like the tire is rolling over onto its
Right.
sidewall.
You're losing surface area like immediately.
Yeah, just imagine like the bottom of the tires, like when you're just going straight. It's
Right.
like this is the road, this is the tire, right? And then you start turning. It's like the tire literally does this the contact patch becomes a fraction of what it was before.
Exactly. So with that camber in place, you're hoping to put down more grip and more surface area of the tire as to mitigate that all those effects that you're getting when you turn in.
Yeah, and you have to run a ton of static camber with the BRZ because it's a McPherson strut, meaning like when the car is just sitting there, you're not even driving it. You need a lot of camber because on track, when you start cornering hard, like 3 degrees of negative camber static is still going to be pretty much 3 degrees of negative camber when you're turning. Whereas in a double wishbone setup like a S2000, if you're 3 degrees static and then you start cornering hard, it actually becomes more negative camber. So it aids you more when you're turning.
Got it.
With the BRZ, it doesn't have that. You don't have that luxury.
So like that, even more reason to go from 0 to the hardly any degrees to get more.
Yeah.
Because on turn-ins, it hurts you to turn in as compared to the S2000.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt my tire wear on the street for sure. If I'm running 3.5, 4 degrees of negative camber.
Yeah, because you're using less tires in a straight setup or driving just day to day. But when you're driving at the limits, you'll definitely have more grip.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's what you expect to get from that particular mod. So, or those mods. So, other than that, I know you probably have things on the mind, or do you have other things that you've purchased yet, or that's the main thing right now?
Honestly, I mean, I'm sure other things will pop up, right? But if I can just fix that handling issue and then maybe later on upgrade to a stickier tire as well, I'll be happy with the car. Like, I really don't need more power. I don't even need an exhaust, really. I mean, like
just for the sound, but it doesn't really. You're not going to gain much from on the track with that exhaust.
None of the exhaust. If you just put a cap back on, you gain 0 wheel.
Yeah, it's all enjoyment at that point. Yeah.
So no, and then in terms of brakes, eventually once I run a stickier tire, I'll probably have to go to a big brake kit. But right now, I'm happy with just the stock brakes and power stop pads,
which is a pretty good that's pretty high praise then of this particular vehicle when you only need to do those things to get someone, and I put your driving caliber in high regard, someone at your caliber, to enjoy it at the track and push it to the limit. So I think that puts that in a pretty high regard.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and then like another thing when I was driving over here, I was like, the seats are pretty good. Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bigger. So even the race seat that I had, the Sparco seat that I had is for bigger people. Mm-hmm. It's a little small for me, but I'm sure it's perfect for you. And you don't even have to screw around with buying a race seat, right?
I mean, if I were to run a sticky tire, like a 200 treadwear tire, I think I would feel the limits of the stock seat. But right now, on just street tires, I'm happy with the stock seat because at the end of the day, like I said, it's still my daily, right? I am not going to put in like a hardcore bucket seat in my daily. I just refuse to do it. No, I have one sitting right there.
Yeah, sitting in the
but
corner.
But I'm just not going to do it because I did it with my S2000 and oh my God, my back just hated me. My spine felt like it was about to shatter every single time I took a bump.
Yeah, and then you have to deal with like airbag stuff too. Like there's sensors and stuff like that, especially with the new, like the older cars, not as much, but even when I had my Fiesta, I had to, mess around with the some of the sensors and stuff like that. Which, do at your own risk. But even with the newest cars, there's going to be they have so much telemetry and all the components of the car that you have to be smart about what you're doing with aftermarket installations.
The last thing I want is a bunch of stuff on the dash beeping at me every single time I turn the car on.
I mean, you already have, I'm driving here, you have the TPMS light.
Right.
Because you have different tires, right? Different wheels, right? So it's like, those are the small little nuisances where you don't really mind on a track car, but on a daily, it does get at me sometimes when I have that. So cool. So other than that, big brake kit in the future as another mod. And then I mean, you said it's good on power, so not looking for anything power wise. So it sounds like you're pretty set and really enjoy this car.
Yeah, I mean, I might end up doing a couple of reliability things like oil cooler, bigger radiator and so forth. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. And also another reason why I'm not putting more stuff on it, like power mods or aero, is because I want to compete in the 8.6 Cup Time Attack Series this year. And in order to stay within the touring class, there's this whole calculator online, right? And you put in like whatever tires, whatever mods you have on there, and it'll tell you your points and then like what category you fall into or what class you fall into. And If I keep my car, so if I just take this car, put on those suspension parts, the coilovers I'm getting, the RC Tarmac 2s, they're two-way adjustable. So that counts for
Okay.
like an extra point over one-way adjustable.
Oh,
So I
interesting.
put that on, and then I run stock brakes. Actually, I don't think brakes count for anything in terms of points. But if I put on a Champiro SX2 RS tire, which is like the newer, stickier version of these
Okay.
tires,
Okay.
I'll be right at the limit, 6 points to stay within touring class. If I even put an intake on the car at that point, I would go into the unlimited class, which is like you can do anything to your car.
Oh,
There's no way I can compete with people who have like
yeah.
unlimited budget.
Yeah, unlimited budget slash they gut their cars or they like do crazy stuff where you
Right.
don't want to do that. Basically, you're not driving it daily in that class.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
cannot be daily driven at that point. So I want to stay in that reasonable
Okay.
sort of sweet spot.
So well, just this will be the last thing we touch on. But like, when does that start?
I believe like one of the first events might be in February. I have not done my homework on this, admittedly, so I
Okay.
need to go
Okay.
back and check the schedule. But there's quite a few events throughout the year, and I'll probably not going to make all of them, but I'll try to go to as many as I can. Not I don't really care about winning. That's not the point. Like I just want to
Well, it's a good way to measure, right?
measure myself against other drivers
Drivers.
out there and other cars, and just really become really in tune with this platform.
Right, right. And which then in turn you can, give valuable insight and then share that with the people, on your
Yeah.
channel and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I feel like everyone, and we've talked about this, everyone tracks for a different reason. And like doing something like this to track your progress over time really can statistically say, oh yeah, I'm getting better as a driver. Here's where I'm faster than some. Here's where I'm slower than others, and really give you that cool information. Whereas like I just go to the track just to have fun and go around in a circle all day. I'm definitely more casual, and
Yeah.
but it's just kind of leads into like people enjoy the track in so many different ways, and
Yeah.
you doing that is definitely one of them. So
Yeah, and this is the year I really want to improve my driving skills. I feel like I sort of have capped out of my skill recently, and buying this car is going to change that for me. Like,
oh yeah,
and not only that, I also whatchamacallit, I bought a Garmin Catalyst.
okay.
Or we're splitting a Garmin Catalyst.
Yeah, we're splitting it. Like, so that means I need to get my, and this will go into another topic. Currently don't have a track car
Yes.
anymore. So yeah, stick around
That's
for
going to be a
another
good
podcast.
segue. But so
Yeah.
that's my experience with the BRZ so far. Let me know if you guys have any questions about it as a daily, as a track car. If you have any questions about my future plans, let us know,
Yep.
and we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.